Maybe her grandchildren would rather stay here than go home.
I've got more cookies, Tater.
Look at the grin.
Yeah.
Yes, they're all sticky now.
I want to come all the time, Grandma.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll call to order at 6 o'clock. The agenda, we're going to put in, kind of the farmer's market in number 3.01, I guess we can do.
Yeah, I don't see Mr. Hutton here yet.
Yeah, I
so-
don't either. So we go 3.01, then move Mr. Hutton 3.02. Any other changes? Hearing none, motion to accept the agenda as presented, or
As amended.
amended. Counselor Warwick. All in favor? Carried. Delegations. And farmer's market, you're up.
Talk about that. Eh?
Sure. Here I am again, another year. So, again, we would like to see if we can get a reduced rent. You have my letter and you have my financials. We feel that it is a functional, like, yes, we did make a lot of money, but we're not in it for money, we're in it for service. A lot of people like to go to the farmer's market and, I just think it's a worthwhile thing.
The letter is 9.41. Anyone wants to speak at it?
We had, all in total for the year kind of thing, I had 30 from outside, 30, different, towns come to the farmer's market and, 35 different vendors from, Hanna alone kind of thing. That's to do with, both the Mother's Day and the Christmas market. So all told, we had at least 60 vendors through the year. And like I said, 30 of them were from out of town, 35 were in town. No, go sit down. You can sit there. So, yeah, we had nonprofit. Of course, we allow the nonprofit to have a table for free to sell whatever they need to sell or to get the information out for them. And we only had 5 take advantage of it last year, but we had 2 of them that were there for the full season, like the museum and that for, and we sold all our raffle tickets for the Egg Society there. So, but it's available and we put it out there for people to use if they need it. Yes.
Question.
Yes.
I'm a loyal fan of both markets.
Mhm.
The one thing I found disappointing is the space is so huge. And you got like 8-10 tables and it's quite dark. And I'm just wondering if that's the best space for your market. Is there anywhere else that would be more?
We have looked into numerous places. Again, we've got to look at, for people to get in and out and be able to, haul their wares in and out.
Yeah.
The back door is really good. We want it to be somewhere where people, very accessible, walking, riding, whatever. We have looked at a few places in town and there really isn't another market for it. So otherwise, we would definitely think about it.
Okay.
For the simple reason is the rent, but we enjoy it. We definitely in the Mother's Day market, we definitely need all the room because it fills up. We have found that some of them have found somewhere else to go and sell their wares, but looking at what's happened in the last year in town, we might have a few more back. So because things have closed where they can't put their wares in and things like that. So.
Right.
So we just do the best. We put it out there, advertise. We send our emails to our to the vendors that have been there. So we use half of it anymore. So
Make sure to harass my sister.
yes,
We need more
Absolutely.
chocolates.
And so you said there's a lot that are repeat and regulars.
yes, we have 10 that come back every every one of them kind of thing and stuff like this, unless something happens to them. Minimum 8, we have come back every week,
Okay.
so.
And do you do any fundraising to raise funds for that? I mean,
No,
So I think I know the answer. So the Ag Society is still your backstop?
we have to have a sponsor. The Alberta Farmers Markets have to have a sponsor, and we are, we as the Ag Society are their, sponsor for the farmers market. Yes.
Okay.
Also,
I just have a comment to
Mhm.
say that, those that do come in from out of town, then odds are they may stop and fill up with gas or may, put money in that there's no way of recording it on your budget.
No,
And so I think that that's something to be considered.
but they stop and they have something, anything a lot of times before, or they run downtown, I see.
Yeah.
I see they get, because we don't have a concession there, so, I see that they run out and they get their supper and stuff like that, so
And
yes.
you had tried a concession and.
We
it just
did,
didn't
but
work?
it doesn't really, like, I mean, we are running this year, we're going to run 3 to 6 instead of 3 to 7.
Mhm.
Because the last hour between 6 and 7, we kind of all just sat there and looked at each other and walked around and visited. Me and Melissa were spending a lot of money because we'd walk around and visit and buy at each table. So, but yeah, so we have shortened our hours. We have to, with the Alberta Farmers Markets, you have to have a minimum of 3 hours
Okay.
to have a market, so, we've shortened it to 3 to 6. We talked to the vendors before we did it, and they agreed that it was, a lot of them, it was a waste of their time sitting there, that they could have been on the road home, because we do have like the ones from Daysland kind of thing, so,
that first hour and a half is the,
yes, is the busiest kind of thing at 3 o'clock.
And I also have a question regarding, you showed a loss of
Yes,
about,
we do.
of about 2,000. So,
Close, yeah.
so how do you cover that?
The Egg Society usually looks after us,
Okay.
kind of thing. We try not to, that's the most we've lost ever, is last year. And that was because, like I said, we had some, and in other years, we've been able to leave our market stuff up, and last year we weren't able to. And some of the people didn't have the time to come and reset up every week. So we lost vendors over it. They would only come maybe once a month instead of every week, so.
It will be the same this year?
Well, this year we're hoping that, like last year, what we did was, as soon as they told, we'd take it down, but sometimes we'd ask Kevin if we could leave him up because, he had nothing booked,
Oh.
you know,
right.
and if anything's booked, we make sure we take everything down and clean it up for him. But, we're hoping, we'll talk to Kevin and see if it's possible, if we can leave him up unless there's something going on. A lot of times, what we have to take down for in the month of May is because of, well, in case it rains, but
Yeah, no, I was just gonna
we're in a
say,
drought.
so if we have a wet May, and teams wanna practice and they can't outside, we've allowed them to use the curling rink to practice. Hopefully we do have a wet May, but.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully.
grad as well, right?
Yeah, grad,
Mhm. Yeah, we've got grad in there, and the first week, we've got our Mother's Day market is on the 6th of May,
fourth, I
4th of
think.
May. Yeah, it's the first Saturday of May, and then the next weekend is the ball
The ball hockey tournament
kind
is
of thing,
scheduled
so-
for the second weekend
Yeah.
in May.
And then we'll start up on the 15th of regular. We found that if we didn't, there isn't a lot because a lot of people come for the produce and there is no produce in Maine. And, but we find that if you start and stop and start and stop, people just don't come. We've got to be consistent, so we'll start and we've got our regular ones and they will come all except for our produce guy, I think so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Hearing none. We'll discuss it later, correct?
Yes, under
Yeah,
new
good.
business,
Under
yeah.
new business, so, Thanks, Peggy.
So thanks for hearing me out, guys.
Good, thank
I'll take
you,
the boxers and we'll go.
Thanks, Kate.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was on the same.
Oh, it was, okay. Oh, that's because I didn't understand. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, well, the internet wasn't working for
Yeah.
them, so. Amazing how that works for kids, right?
Yeah,
Mr. Hutton.
Mr. Hutton isn't here,
Not
so
here.
let's keep moving
Okay,
on.
so keep moving on.
I don't do a thank you. Or-
We can.
Oh, well, I just want to check this.
I wasn't expecting Peggy to come speak. She didn't say who's coming to speak.
Oh, okay.
So we've got, adoption minutes.
Oh, no.
Oh, sorry,
Number 4.
for public presentations, any? No, Mr. Moore, you got to shine. Okay. Adoption minutes. Motion of the minutes of the regular meeting held in council February 13th, 2024 be adopted as presented.
You didn't see it.
Councilor Kroll. All in favor? Carried. Motion that the minutes of the information meeting held in council chambers February 28th, 2024 be adopted as presented. Councilor Carroll, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Council payable. Questions?
I have a question.
Council Warwick?
43013. It's indicated on here bar none.
Yeah,
Is that, I'm just curious, is that for upgrades or? how
that's
does-
part of our storefront improvement incentive.
Oh, okay. So is there a minimum and a maximum that you can,
There's a maximum.
okay,
I think the maximum is,
depends on your frontage.
yeah,
Yeah, it was
5 or
6,000.
6,000.
Yeah.
Okay,
But it's basically a 50/50 cost share up to that maximum.
okay, thank you. And the one other one I have is 043042. It's listed on here as Thorough Incorporated.
Yeah, it's not Counselor
No,
Thorough.
I didn't think it was.
So
The
it's
spelling
a,
wasn't right.
it's a contractor we had to bring in. There was tree roots through a sewer main on 7th Avenue that was causing blockages. So they come in, they've got a root cutter, so they come in and they can cut the roots out. So,
And where do they come from?
yeah, I was gonna guess Calgary, I'm not sure.
They've been coming out here for 50 years.
They do a lot of work there and we bring them in, from time to time. They do a lot of sewer cammering too, sewer main cammering, so.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
There is one that I just wanted to, point out, and now I gotta find it.
I was just looking.
043028 to SCO Fire. So that was the fire inspection on the property at 410 4th Avenue West. So when there's a fatality, you're legislated to have a fire inspection, so.
What was that number again? Sorry.
043028, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Council Bowden?
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And so does that then dictate whether or not, or what, do they condemn or do they just say, yes, there was a fire or what?
No, they'll help investigate, especially with a fatality,
Mhm.
whether it was criminal,
Okay,
um,
accidental.
arson, intentional type thing.
Okay, thank you.
Any others? Hearing none, motion council accept the accounts payables listings from general account information. Checks number 43008 to 43042. And direct deposit 002798 to 002868. Electronic funds transfer branch 845. Motion. Second, with Councilor Murphy, sorry. All in favor? Carried. Statement of revenue and expense. questions, concerns? Hearing none, motion for council to accept the statement of revenue expense report for February 2024 for information. Motion, Councilor Olson. All in favor? Carried. 6.03 budget overview. No questions? Council Warwick, was that
Oh,
a double clutch?
the thinking, sorry, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I just, when I don't see as well as I do, when I see a hand move, okay, I got one. Okay, motion to council accept the budget overview for February 2024 for information. Councilor Thorold, all in favor? Carried. No votes. Committee reports. MPC. Councilor Olson, anything you'd like to add?
No, it was due to sale of a building and shop had sold, somebody wanted to put a residence in there. It's always nice when things sell and people want to spend money on them. Yeah.
The gentleman that bought the former card shop is
That's-
doing
that's-
trailer repairs.
Card- card-
Yeah.
Oh, yes, oh, yes.
Unreal, yeah.
Well, RV,
Not so much
No,
RV,
no.
no, dump trailers, cargo trailers. I thought RV originally because he bought Marvin's old holiday trailer that was in there actually at the time as part of the sale. So I assumed that it would be that, but, when it comes to RVs, he's more into axles
Yeah.
and brakes and that type of stuff, that type of, work, so. Nice to have a new business in town. He was out here several times. Talked to numerous people. He actually come to the shop, him and his wife, and introduced himself, and, yeah, they're excited to be here, and they're renovating the former office side into a residence, so I see they've got a whole bunch of bricks tore out now, and, they cleaned up the yard in a heck of a hurry. So that'll be a big plus, I think, so. Anything else? Motion to accept all the committee reports for information. This will planning commission minutes, March 6, 2024. Motion. Council vote, thank you. Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, all in favor? Carried.
Do you need those paddles they use in auctions? Well, in a good way.
Some days you can smack me with a paddle, I probably wouldn't.
See it.
Yeah. 8.01. Or 8.0, senior administrative official report.
Mr. Mayor, a few updates, the downtown redevelopment project, so. As I mentioned in my report, it is out to tender as we speak. It is to close, I think, not sure the exact hour, but on March 21st. Later on in the business section, we'd like to have a special council meeting prior to our council info session meeting next on the 27th of March to hopefully award a tender if prices are in line and where we want to go. We did hold the pre-bid tender meeting today. There was probably 15 people at it.
We have different, representing different. groups.
Yeah, no, sorry, and there won't be 15 different. There was
Okay.
probably, from the looks of it, there were three general contractors, and then there were subcontractors there. So sounds like there's definitely some interest in the project. I talked to the lady from Brooks Asphalt who was here and just asked her what the market was out there, and she said it's not bad. She said there's not a ton of underground work being tendered right now, so that might be in our favor, but concerns from the contractors are not, I guess they're primary concerns from the contractors, just walking through is, and we might have to do a few changes to the tender document. The curb stops on all the buildings are really tight to all the buildings, and they were asking if the curb stops could be moved out further into the sidewalk, and I think that's certainly a doable thing. And there definitely is concern 100% about,
Contamination.
well, not so much
Oh.
contamination, the vibration and the old buildings.
Okay.
Like they said, you know, when we're doing this, what happens when the parging comes off or this happens? Because we do have a number of old buildings, so certainly is some concern there. We do have vibration monitoring as part of the package. Basically to say, okay, no more, you can't vibrate more than that, and a lot of the tender package does have lack of better terminology for the services to be put in Bill Creek versus clay, and just to, so they don't have to put as much vibration or compaction on them to keep them in place, so. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, would insurance cover that on their side and or
Well,
on our
that's-
side?
On their side. But there definitely is concern because you're wanting to compact everything, right? You're wanting to compact the road, you're wanting to compact the sidewalks.
There's gonna be certain standards that they'll have to attain.
Yeah, so definitely some concern, but definitely was pleased. Because the meeting today wasn't mandatory, but it was pleased to see at least 3 generals out for it, so.
Well, Mr. Neal, when they do that process, will they be advising the businesses, with the compacting, because the vibration is gonna, you know, like, I'm just thinking there's liquor stores there with bottles of
Well,
liquor all over
yeah,
their walls.
There
that
needs to be,
probably
there
wouldn't fare
need to
well
be
in that process.
communication, obviously lots of communication. There's gonna have to be lots of communication as we work through this project because of timing, because of access, all of that stuff. So, but yeah, so that was probably not anything anybody took into consideration when we were talking about vibration. But, there was definitely concern with some of the age of some of the buildings, so. And even there, if you look at some of the outside buildings, you know, there's pieces falling off
Yeah.
already, so you start vibrating a little bit more, what else is gonna fall off the front, so.
Now, is that communication their responsibility as far as the general contractor to communicate to the?
Yeah, it'll be a
businesses
kind of
as
be
well as?
It'll be a bit of a mixed role, but obviously the contractor will play a big role, because they're the ones that are on site and know the schedule and are dealing with all that stuff, so. So it'll be a kind of a combination, so.
Thank you.
Just moving on, nothing else there. I know, you guys as taxpayers probably all got your assessment notices, so they went out in the mail on March 6th. Couple of things just to highlight for you. So assessment levels have increased from the 2023 assessment by $19 million.
What's the total assessment? I just as a percentage.
Yeah, I think it's 270, but that might be just residential, 270 million, so. Maybe Winona can pull it up while I'm talking here. So residential, a property assessment went up by 11.2 million, non-residential 1.5 million, and exempt assessment is 6.1. So exempt is your school, hospitals, churches, town. One of the factors that will be in that exempt will be the conversion of Quinn Templar's building being now owned by the school division. So before that would have been accessible, and now it's not, so.
Is that a comment, an area for comment regarding that or not? Not the assessment, but the,
Well, it's in the MGA, it's a school property, it's exempt.
no, I know, but, you know, we're putting in pipe, looking at taking water to that building, is that? That's
Well, I
not
think-
exempt, is it?
No, the actual work isn't necessarily exempt. But that'll be a discussion if we move forward with them on water to that property that, you know, certainly be in the back of council's negotiation in terms of there's no tax revenue coming from that property.
Yeah. And had somebody
that
else,
improvement,
yeah,
so.
and had somebody else purchased it, then there would be tax revenue from it. But now that it's an.
It's a little bit, it's a little bit different if somebody else would have purchased it because the assessment was already there. So it's not like if Councillor Bowden bought that building that it would have changed the assessment, but sometimes when councils help developers move forward with projects, it's new assessments, so it's generating new assessments, which generates new tax dollars, so. But yeah, so that's where it at, again, people tend to get excited when they see their assessment go up and sometimes don't put two and two together, that doesn't mean their taxes are going up by that. I do believe, and we haven't run the numbers, but we will prior to, at our April council info meeting to talk about tax rates. I do believe with the increase in assessment, our tax rates will come down.
Yeah, I think pretty safe to say we've got that 2% already.
Even though the key thing we have to keep in mind is council did approve a budget with a 2% tax increase. So we have to generate that $56,000 more. But I think with the assessments the way they are, if we left the tax rate the same, we generate a lot more than that. So we will probably be lowering the tax rate, which, you know, people will still probably potentially pay slightly more because we're trying to recoup another $56,000 from the tax base, but certainly I think it's a good problem. You know, I know there's been lots of people confused by it and who haven't done anything to their property, but it's just market value and market for residential properties has increased. Is that both, Winona?
Yeah, that's all
So
including.
non-res, yeah, okay. So our total assessment is 327,742,000. So what's 19 on that? 190 million would be 10%. So about 5% maybe? Somewhere in there, rough number. So that's if, you know, if people get excited. The other thing we have chosen not to do this year is we're not having an open house because the last 2 years we haven't had anybody attend. Terry is open to phone calls, emails, and we'll come out here and meet with somebody if they want to discuss their assessment. So I know he's had a few phone calls. And I know, you know, my understanding from those phone calls that Terry's explained the increase in assessment and they understand why it went up, even if they didn't do anything. A lot of people who bought property, know that they bought property at higher than assessed value, which it's unique. 5 to 10 years ago, or 3 to 5 years ago, our assessments were the other way. People were buying properties for well below the assessed value and then wanted that change. Now it's flipping a little bit, which is good that they're paying more than what the assessed value was. So it's supposed to theoretically be, your assessed value is supposed to theoretically be around 10% of market value plus or minus. So if you're talking, anybody have questions, certainly they can call us, but Terry's information was on the back of the assessment letter, and we encourage people to talk to Terry because the town doesn't set the assessments. Where it's an independent group, we're not involved in it, and that's the way the system is. So if they want to know why their property was assessed at what it was, Terry has the obligation to be able to explain to them why he has it assessed at that level. Provincial budget, nothing out of the ordinary that we didn't expect. I know they've had basically predetermined our LGF funding. but everything else remains relatively the same, no surprises there. Our audit was just completed, last week, so they were here Monday to Wednesday, so haven't seen the draft audit report yet, but, we are hoping to have them presented to council at the April 9th council meeting, so that's the plan right now. Looking through Kevin's report, I just wanted to update, he did have a comment in there about compressor one shutting down off and on, need to be reset, so we had our ice guy out, Danny, and there was something in the, some electrical short in the system that kept, so he's fixed it, it's ran really well since then, so we're at the point, at the arena, that there's very few teams that are actually continuing on, but there are some, so we're gonna keep ice in as they move forward. I believe the midgets are the only, or the U18s, sorry, are the only team that has a shot at provincials. They've got one more weekend, I believe, or is it gonna go over 2 weekends?
I'm not sure, they're going around against RMA, which
Yeah.
is Carstairs.
And if they win that, they go to provincials, which is Easter weekend, I
Yeah.
believe, so. Other than that, curling rink, hosted, a successful ladies provincials, there, I think went over very well. It was good to see. I give, Tanner and the curling club credit for applying for that, hosting that and bringing it in. I know it wasn't a big boom for our curling rink bar or anything because the curlers they were pretty serious, but, staying in hotels, eating restaurants, I know I saw 4 or 5 teams of ladies on Friday walk by my office and they were headed downtown to shop. I heard there was quite a few of them in Tackle Breeze, so.
Good.
So it was good economic driver.
Can I just make a comment? I, attended and watched a couple games and, the people I was sitting next to, were staying at a local hotel. And they were very impressed. They had, as far as the breakfast and everything else, they said the cost, the rooms are reasonable, but they said the breakfast, they had a free breakfast and it was full, like they had everything that they could possibly want. And so they were, providing lots of accolades for the rest, or for the hotel that they were staying in. And I think that speaks volumes that, maybe we didn't make enough or much from the bar or anything, but, I would think they may be back if that's the treatment that they're getting from the locals. So that was really nice.
Well, hopefully there's good feedback from, because I know it's, curling club's desire to try amends next year and keep hosting some of these events and bringing people into the community. And that's what sport tourism is all about, is getting those people into the community, spending money and we can't control where they spend it, but when they're here, they will spend money, so.
We have to get some of our people participating.
Yes,
Yeah, that'd be great.
yeah, I think that would have probably helped if we had a local team or two
Yeah,
in
I
the
think so too.
Bonspiel, so. So that's good there.
Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry,
No,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry if you want, I just wanted, I know I'm going back here just a little bit, but I just want to talk about that downtown redevelopment project. There was a word in there I was trying to capture that, you said that you had dialogue with most businesses. I just want to maybe affirm that we will, have that opportunity to speak to all the businesses prior
yeah.
to, okay. I
Yeah,
just wanted
definitely,
to,
once the again, few steps, hopefully the tender comes in where we need it to come in. And we can award the tender and then that will award it the general contractor and then we will move forward then.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing I just wanted to mention out of Michelle's report. So the skate park, so they had a meeting last week with 25 kids. Showed them some different designs and concepts. Sounded like, there was a strong favor of one design and one piece of equipment, so the skate park supplier is gonna go back and retweak the design and get that piece of equipment, make sure it's in the design, and we'll we'll go forward. He knows what our budget is and, move forward, but it was interesting that, they were able to get 25 kids out to attend. Free pizza helped, but,
My grandchildren talked about it for 2 days,
okay.
but I guess they went back and spoke to the rest of them. So they're all excited about what's
Okay,
happening.
good. So hopefully we can
Yeah,
move forward on
good.
that. The other thing I wanted to, it's not part of Michelle's report, but those of you who signed up for the March 25th AHS public engagement here should have got an email saying the date has been changed. So the date has been changed to April 11th. The Hanna Community Center from 3 to 5.
That's the second time it's changed.
Yes, and you can still sign up if you wish to attend that date. You have to register on their site.
Well, because last time I went into their site, you couldn't register. So I don't know if it wasn't open yet. I checked one other time and it still wouldn't let you. So how did everybody register?
I registered for the one in Drumheller and I registered for the original date, which was the 18th. I
Oh,
believe.
well,
so the
they
original
put
you could.
But they originally, the 18th was just for a short period of
Okay.
time and then it moved to the 25th.
So that's, anyhow, I'll check again.
Okay,
I'll share the website again if I
Okay.
get it from.
but those who had been registered would have got an email saying the date and time is removed. And then if you can't make that time, my understanding was they assume that you will attend the April 11th unless you tell them you can't. Like if you have another commitment that day, so. There wasn't anything where you had to click on that I saw that to re-register for the April 11th. I think that's what I have for those. I just wanna, Brent is not here. He's at the wastewater conference. He's got his report. If there's any questions, I'll certainly do my best to answer. This week, they've been focusing on storm drains, culverts, those types of things frozen. It's been pretty good. There's a tough one that we always have trouble with up by the bottle depot and co-op, shallow and took them most of the afternoon and into the evening last night to get that one going. But other than that, there hasn't been too much. I think they've got most of them all done and caught up now, so.
Yeah, they had to have a waterfront one opened up like in 15 minutes, when
Yeah.
I've seen them spend days trying to get
Yeah. So if there's any questions on the public works side, I'll do my best to answer them, but that's kind of their focus. I think even today, they're hoping to get out and start putting some, pothole patches in some of the potholes, so.
Any questions? More questions? Motion to accept senior
Oh,
administrator.
no, Lori's got one she handed
Oh,
out
sorry, Lori.
before, so.
Sorry about that.
That's fine, my
I got it.
apologies
No,
for not
no, I
getting
got
it into the package. I'll just mention to council that we've had the flyer now into the mail for a few weeks. I appreciate any feedback you're getting off the street in terms of whether people are appreciating the information, reading it, bothering to read it, whatever. A little bit different format, we went with a bifold brochure style, thinking that might attract a bit more attention. I thought I was gonna say something else about it. Oh, we were able to negotiate with Canada Post. It took a little while and some back and forth. That the brochure is a government publication, therefore I shouldn't call it a brochure, flyer publication. Therefore, it qualifies to go in every mailbox. So even the ones that are set as no flyer, it will go into those mailboxes. So that's a plus for us. And I guess it kind of comes down to the people stuff in the mailbox.
I didn't notice the recycle bin full of them, so that's a positive.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but so has anybody had any feedback? Yes, no, positive, negative, no?
Senior seems to like it.
And then I just put a copy of a brochure in front of you that will be in the utility bills when they go out this week, later this week. Thank you. And of course, as always, the message from the mayor will follow up and we send it to the media. They choose to print it or not, but we'll also be doing it in the news, social media, everything else. Any questions?
With our webpage, Lori, do you know how many, you said we had a set number of subscribers,
Actually, I just looked at that today because I had intended to pull together some stats for you guys on some of the things and I ran out of time.
Oh, that's
today.
fine.
But I did look at that one and there's 700 subscribers to the electronic newsletter. So that's not too bad, I thought.
I'm gonna come back to there too, so. Motion to accept senior administrators and personal report, 8.01, 8.03, and give that information. Council Bowden, all in favor? Gary? Marigold,
So, Mr. Mayor, and if I get something wrong, Councilor Murphy can help me, but the Marigold has sent out their Schedule C amendment, which is their fees they charge municipalities and municipal library boards. So they do it in advance, so their Schedule C of the agreement will take effect January 1st, 2025, and they do 2 years at a time, so they got January 1, 2025, and January 1, 2026. So I see a typo in my resolution. The last one should say 2026. So basically in 2024, the rate we're paying Marigold is $6.46 per capita. Their proposed amendments to Schedule C in 2025 go to $6.59 per capita. So 13 cents increase, and then in 2026, $6.75 per capita, which is another 16 cents per capita. So the population is always the tricky one, the number they use. They used to use the most updated federal census, and you'd have that for 5 years. Now they've switched to the Alberta, province of Alberta official population, which they do on an annual basis, and they estimate. So last year they used the population figure of 2,658. So using that contribution, we will pay $17,170 in 24. Using the new figures, it will go up to 17,516 in 2025 and 17,941 in 2026. So it's about $350 to $450 each of those 2 years is the proposed increase for Marigold.
It's a very small amount considering the quality of the work that they do for our library is incredible.
Council Bowden,
And so if I follow correctly, they're basing 25 and 26 based on the 2658.
No, I'm basing it on the 2658. We don't know until they come out in the spring what the province will say their estimated population is for the town of Hanna. So we're using last year's number at this point, because that new number is not available.
And so if we don't have that increase and have a decline, does that still base it on?
So it's per capita, so
Right,
if
per capita,
if the population,
I realize that, but
Yeah.
if it goes down, there's a little bit of a lag period before it'll catch up to the correct amount.
no, when they announce the population this spring, then we will use that number, whether it's higher than 2658 or lower than 2658, and it will be
Based on
for
their
this
per
year.
capita number.
Normally, the province has that number out already, and generally when we get a requisition from Marigold, it's for the full amount this year because the population estimate hasn't been released. They sent us a invoice for 80%. So we paid that, and then when the new population figure comes in, then they'll adjust the remaining amount. So
Thank you.
it shouldn't change too much one way or the other.
No.
any other questions? Motion that council authorize the CEO to sign a Schedule C of agreement between the parties comprising of the Marigold Library System to take effect January 1st, 2025, which authorized per capita of 659 in 2024,
That should say
2025,
2025 and
and
2026.
675 in 2026. Motion, Council Murphy, all in favor? Carried. Any questions other than that? Municipal planning,
So,
quite a story.
there is a story here, so.
There is actually.
So, as we know, Councilor Preston, isn't Councilor Brown, Mr. Preston's term on MPC expired in October 2023. We missed that, didn't advertise. So we did advertise with, a deadline to apply of November 15th, 2023. We did have 3, applications, submitted to sit on MPC. One of the applicants was deemed ineligible as he lives in the special areas, and the MPC bylaw says you have to be a resident of the town of Hanna. The second, another individual we asked to provide some dates and times to be interviewed by the commission. He indicated he was gonna be out of town for a few weeks. We recently had another meeting, as you know, in the minutes on March 6th, so we asked if he could attend that day. And he said, no, he's still busy out of town. And he basically said, if we have another applicant, he would withdraw his application because he wasn't sure when he'd be back in town. So we did have an application from Mr. Preston. So council or commission at the March 6th meeting made a recommendation to council appoint Richard Preston to the Municipal Planning Commission as a citizen at large member for a term ending October 31st, 2026.
Any discussion? Motion to council appoint the, hold on here. Motion to council approve the appointment of Richard Preston to the Municipal Planning Commission as a citizen at large for a term ending on October 31st, 2026.
I'm abstaining from this. I don't think he's getting paid for it.
I know. Council Murphy,
But it can't be.
all in favor?
I didn't have my hand up.
Councilor Bowden did.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did.
Councilor Bowden,
You can substitute if you like.
Yeah.
all in favor? I don't think it cousin quite cuts at this,
Conflict of interest.
Yeah.
You're related to half the town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Development permit,
So, Mr. Mayor, I'll touch base on this a little bit, and if you have any questions on the specifics of the project, Sandra Bodina's Roundhouse Chair is here, and she can address them. I think she wants to excuse herself from the vote, but the reason you're seeing this, which is unusual for council to see this, but the Roundhouse is located in a direct control district, land use district. So in a direct control district, council is the approving authority for any development on the site, whether it's a change of use, whether it's a development of the building, etc. So that's why it's here, not before our development officer or municipal planning commission. Is because it is in the direct control district of the land use bylaw. So basically, the Hanna Roundhouse Society has submitted a development permit to basically connect building utility services, so power, sewer, water, gas to the building, and construct inside washing facility, and I think changing room on the ground floor of the Hanna Roundhouse property. So not sure if there's any questions specific to the development. It's here for that. From the development officer's perspective, he has no issues with it. It's not changing the footprint. We're not expanding, encroaching on property lines. We're not increasing the size of the use. We're not changing the use. It's just a different one that has to come here because it's in a direct control district.
where's the nearest water and sewer
relatively close.
There's a
Okay.
fire hydrant out
Yeah.
there that's about the general location, and there was water and sewer to about 1992, because it did service, the auction mart at the time, and they were the last occupant.
Okay.
And so I did have a discussion with, Director, Olson, that, we could possibly be tying into that existing line and not having to dig, fresh line, which, would cut back on the expenses for sure. We are looking at, underground power. And, of course, everything that we do has to have Heritage, sign off on it, because we are provincial historic resource and underneath the Heritage Ministry. And, so we will be working closely with Heritage. They are aware of this, and our, RFP for this work, just closed on Monday. So we do need to, we're doing that, and we'll have to decide make a selection by Thursday. So they're also going to create a second story for furnace that would be sitting above the new construction, and that will be the only area that will be heated, is the new construction at this time. This is phase 1 of a proposed 5-phase. And the actual feasibility was done by, Kai Space at the request of, well, it was a requirement in order for Harvest Sky to apply for funding from, used to be Western Economic Diversification. It is, now Prairie's Economic Development.
Yeah, they go by Prairie
Canada.
Canada, so.
Yeah, short Prairie's Can. So, they have, agreed, and it has not been formally announced. They are providing $500,000 for this work. And another smaller one, of 50 from another smaller group. And, because they were identified, the Roundhouse was identified as kickstarting tourism in this area after COVID and such. So we have done a lot of, communication with the federal, or minister at that time within our area, and, yeah, this is exciting for us. We are a nonprofit. None of us get a wage or anything. This is strictly to save history. And in order for us to save that historical building, we have to find a way to generate revenue. And this will help us do that by being able to offer, another unique venue to attract people to our area and invest into our community and restaurants, hotels, and other businesses. So that is our goal. And if you have any questions, I'll answer. Otherwise, I will be stepping out for any, feel free to discuss. And I just do not want to be involved in the other discussions, so.
Okay,
Any
any
questions?
questions?
Any questions, comments?
Yeah, it's a great project. I mean, especially, we've had a few events there now that have been. Well, we get Gregory, album launch, there's been a couple of weddings, the, trade show for the rodeo was out there. Fairly well received, so,
The only missing piece was the power and water.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
That was a lot of extra work and a detriment to those renting the facility.
And that's the detriment to it right now.
Yeah.
We still have the unique, setting, which is what people are looking for. This will certainly, enable any event organizers to
better utilized.
better utilize and not have to, pull in portable toilets and portable power and all this to make the events go. At the end of the day, it still will primarily be a will only be good till the shoulder seasons, because the grand hall won't be heated or anything, but it should hopefully allow for a lot more events to occur and even stretch further out into the spring and into the fall before the weather turns.
Which way does that sewer run?
That I'm not sure.
Okay. The reason I'm asking.
But
is
I know there's a manhole fairly close on, Roundhouse Road, to Grantham's and Campions.
Yeah.
So that's where it would tie in and.
The reason I'm asking is there was two manholes on my property that had been dug up and abandoned, so I just. That's why I was. not
Yeah, I know.
concerned, But wondering.
We know that, Grantham's tie into that one, and we know we can see a sewer pipe, we can see a sewer pipe from the same direction from the roundhouse at the bottom of the manhole.
So, is there gonna be will there be a substantial cost to us? To do any of that?
To the
work?
town, no,
Nothing, yeah.
zero, there's
I
zero,
can't see why anybody would have an issue with spending grant money on.
there's zero cost to the town on this project at this point in time. If there was something that was going to cost, obviously would have to come back before council for discussion and approval of it, but at this point, there's no indication of them needing any additional dollars, so.
Any other questions? Counselor Crowell, you look like you're contemplating. Okay, hearing no more, recommended motion, the council approved development permit D 07-24 Roundhouse Society Connect the building to utility services and construct washing facilities on the ground floor of the property referred to as the Roundhouse, legally described as Plan 03131332, Block 3, Lot 3, Tax Roll 149-100, as it will not interfere with the amenities of neighbors of the neighborhood, affect the use and enjoyment or value of neighboring properties, conform with the use prescribed at the land, the building, and the land use bylaw. Put a handler, Councilor Murphy. All in favor?
I
Carry.
have a question too in regards to that. So over the years, we've given them a grant in lieu of taxes, is that?
Of the municipal portion of the tax, yes.
And so how long are we gonna continue to do that then, or is that something that's just ongoing?
Council can make that, adjustment annually.
Okay, and just to reference that, is there another property in town that we do that? I know the Mason's Hall at one time.
We used
I
to,
remember-
we used to with the Masons Hall because it was a building that was owned by a not-for-profit group that did rent it out, but with them selling the property and no longer owning it, then that one came off the books.
Okay. Okay. I'm just kidding.
He, supported your.
Thank you very much. Can I add something else?
Yeah.
Just this past year, we've, invested about, almost $90,000. Engineering assessments for one portion of the building. Assessment on the, turntable and, restoration of a set of doors, of the engine doors. And, put in storm windows on the other side. So of that, we've got probably about 60,000 in grants that I have applied for. Most of it's heritage, and, New Horizon for seniors. And then the other is, fundraising, and, so the Hanna Roundhouse Society has put in about 30,000. So, we will continue to do the other end of it as well, which is what we've been doing for the last 10 years.
Great.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
You wanna move forward? Mr. Hutton is here.
Yeah, that's just what I was gonna say. Mr. Hutton, you're up to bat. Where do you want?
Well, you wanna come to the podium there?
I'll, I might start to shake if I'm at a podium.
Well, you can sit down if
And
you'd
sit
like.
at the chair and whatever you feel comfortable with.
So thank you for letting me, speak to council.
Just a reminder, you have 15 minutes.
15 minutes, yeah, that should be more than that.
Perfect.
So for the last number of years, I've, wanted to do something at the west end of Fox Lake with respect to development. My hands were tied a little bit because my sisters and I shared the company and they had a different idea than I had. So now that the quarter at the west end of Fox Lake is in my control, and I had made application to subdivide the approximately 15 acres along the waterfront. And it's my dream or vision, if you will, to ultimately do a denser development there that would be smaller lots rather than larger lots. So it would make use of existing infrastructure. One of the biggest costs of development is the roads and the power. Power line is running right through. And years ago, the property, that quarter has been in the Hutton family since 1933. It was originally the Clark place. And it was one of the quarters that didn't fall to the special areas because grandfather obviously was able to purchase it. So it's been in the Elvin Roy Hutton Lloyd Hutton family since 1933. So Dad was involved in the upspring diversion to Fox Lake where they increased the capacity. So he helped the town and worked with other neighbors, the Lamb brothers that are where Tammy and Kyle are. Tommy Scott, and I think the whole family. So they put in the diking, they took the upstream, the current diversion to add water to Fox Lake. And at this point, it was borderline. It was still, I believe, water, backup water supply from Helmer Dam to the town of Hanna. So for the last number of years, the town of Hanna has held the water license for Fox Lake. And if you Google it, there's other names, St. Louis Lakes, and the Kern at the campsite speaks about the donation from the Ducks Unlimited in St. Louis, and hence the name. At that point, they talked about it being a duck factory because the water levels were low and it was more suitable for ducks. At this point, Ducks Unlimited really has no interest in Fox Lake. The license is with the town. And it's still a mystery to me when it's not a natural body of water or a permanent body of water, but basically an artificial body or unnatural, what the parameters are for the province, Manitoba, special areas, etc. So I'm trying to wade through the logistics of how do you create a development that is close to the water, has all the attributes that you would want to have in place before you started any development on the power and the roads. The setbacks to water, because ideally what I would like to see happen is homes or boat houses, tiny homes, if you will, right on the water. So I think that there is the potential for Fox Lake to be different than any other development in the province of Alberta that I'm aware of. So other jurisdictions, Ontario, BC and so forth, have boat houses, they've got docks, they've got boardwalks, they've got, you know, all the above. Special areas has 2.5 million acres. And there isn't a single cottage tourist lodge facility that I'm aware anywhere in the 6 campgrounds that are on their website. And at the public hearing on the land use order in Youngstown today, chaired by Jordan, I said that I was disappointed that Fox Lake wasn't on their list of attractions related to camping and water and so forth. So at the very least, it seems to me that council should lobby or speak to special areas and try and communicate this as an asset, because the existing asset is special, but the potential asset, I think, is much greater. So, when I go for a holiday, most of us go for a holiday, we choose BC to the west or Prince Albert, you know, National Park in Saskatchewan, where we went as kids. Manitoba, there's water everywhere, and Ontario and so forth. In Hanna, I know lots of people that would go to Buffalo, and they would go wherever. So I would, if possible, I would like the support of council to support waterfront development at Fox Lake and elsewhere. CNR Reservoir, for example, which is ideally suited for the growth.
So Stan, I've seen the map before. My concern is you mentioned roads and power being your major challenges. I'm looking at the sewage.
Okay.
As far as setbacks and so on and so forth. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know that answer, but that would be my concern with any development closer to the water.
Well, and that's a valid concern. Any issue, whether it's water edge erosion, can be addressed with geotechnical. Sewer is a mechanical issue, like a lot of the zoning lots that I commented on in the new land use order. They're bigger lots, but they're not big enough. Like in the additional zone in Winnipeg, you can't have a septic field if you've got less than a 5-acre parcel. A lot of these parcels are smaller, so and where we have our cottages, I can just pass these around. These are some of the projects. This will give you some idea of what I've been doing in Manitoba. They won't allow you to have a septic field. The concern is environmental. So you have to use one of the provincial province of Manitoba approved storage, concrete, fiberglass, polyethylene. It has to be CSA approved, etc. and it has to be pumped out. And you can have a well, but a lot of the wells are deeper and at, Lake of the Prairies, almost straddling the Manitoba Saskatchewan border. So, we acquired our property in 2002 through 2004 through a cottage lot draw that was used as an economic initiative by the province of Manitoba. It was the NDP Gary Dewar government. And so, like we've seen with Hanna and loss of population, struggling to maintain that, and all the hamlets and so forth, loss of population. It was used to generate, economic, development, fisheries and et cetera. So we're sitting on a doorstep on a premium resource, and lots has been done with it over the last 70 years. There's lots more that could be done. And my sense, if the properties are smaller and they're more economic to buy in, then, I think council has seen that with the Trailer Park property, the demand there isn't strong enough demand for higher price properties. So, but there is demand for smaller vacation properties where people already have a job elsewhere, Drumheller, Red Deer, Calgary, wherever, and they would support the golf courses and swimming pool. And it would be I think a real boost to the community without it rain.
Sorry, are you talking about like a permanent residency on that, or are you talking a holiday property? So it'll be seasonal? Or?
It's at Lake of the Prairies, they're probably 50-50. A lot of people have moved there, and they're there permanently. A lot of us come and go from the cities, and it's seasonal. Everything that I've done for myself is fully insulated, and it can be a full-time. But a lot of people that are coming and going have jobs. In our case, Winnipeg is 4 hours away from the lake, so you need to kind of pack a lunch or have a long weekend. So
I've heard rumblings for years about, so this is, I've never seen a map, never seen anything.
okay.
We put you on the spot to bring up the Google Maps and just see which quarter.
Sure. Okay.
And
No
so,
worries, gonna.
and so you're looking at, the development to be set up more like, year-round accommodation, and then if they want to use that, they can, if they don't.
Well, I think that would be the potential. I see more lots and smaller cottages with design control. So my background is architecture. And I've worked for the city of Winnipeg in the planning department for 15 years dealing with urban design issues. So character of streetscape has always been important to me. And I think the closest examples of destinations that I think of that I make a point of detouring to go through is the likes of Rosebud, which is kind of a cute little village and more compact and has some character, and or even Wayne, which is a hamlet, but it has, because of the bridges and and those are the things that draw people to those areas. And I think Hanna could benefit from that kind of thing. So
Have you had much for discussions with the neighbors, like with? family and-
we did have a meeting that was chaired by Mark. Dakota. Then of course, everybody recognized the map here. Campground here, Elmer Dam. So the old diversion was over in this area, came up into Elmer and then when that was full, it could spill water into Fox Lake, so that was kind of an overflow. The new channel from the current one comes way over here. Took a ditch through here to increase the acre footage of water. So the area that I'm talking about is the original road of the lake. So it's approximately 80 feet between the old road allotments and the water's edge. And probably, and 300 plus feet between the upper road here, which was built Dad and special areas negotiated that because school buses and because it was halfway up the hill and snow and so forth. So my notion is that around much of the lake, ultimately, there would be lakefront development. It's a picturesque little lake. It's big enough for water skiing. I skied there when I was in high school. Well, there's islands for picnic tables, this, that, and campground. This is an ideal site that Gary and Gloria Hutton own. Of course, the Fox Lake Retreat is over here, and we try and stay there. If we've got a family gathering for Mom's birthday, and there's not enough room in Mom's house. And there's hills and vantage points here. I discovered you can just move this over a little bit, like a mile over. In all the years growing up, the old CN Railroad tracks comes through this ravine, which is one of the most scenic things that you would find in this part of the world. And we've got, in the summertime, we'll walk that track with the dog and the grandkids and so forth. And that's on CN land and then like Robinson's land. And there's bridges that are, train bridges that cross the creek, because it's all over the place. So ultimately, I'm not sure I'll live not long enough to see any of this. Because at 71, I'm running out of energy and runway. But ultimately, to tie into what the town has already done with Fox Lake Trail, which is a really popular, it was to drive and watch the sunsets and watch the birds and so forth from town up around the lake and then over across, like I would ultimately like to take on this quarter, which is my quarter here, take a trail up. And if there was an agreement with I think Billy Gibbs owns this, the Blackfeet used to camp in this area, and they used to camp south of we called it the Big Lease. It was grandfather Hutton's property. You get up in the hills, you can see the encampments of the rock circles. So there's lots of history here, and then up and across these hills, and then down into the track, and follow that right into back into Hanna. So my wife and her sister have been going into Scotland to hike these trails. And I know that Donna Grover did a lot of hiking and others here do. And sometimes what we have right underfoot escapes us. And it seems to me that if it had any promotion at all, any awareness at all, it could be, exceptional. So.
Okay, gonna be an hour here, Stan.
Yeah.
We're just about 20 minutes, so
Yeah.
what are you looking for from us?
I would like, a letter of support to the notion of development of Fox Lake. There's nothing on the table. At this point, I've just shared with you a my overall vision. I'm happy to give you whatever you want over time. But I'm looking for support and interest from special areas. And the letter of support from council regarding, development with whatever conditions you felt were appropriate. It doesn't tie your hands, but it liberates, it says to special areas and others that there is interest from the community for lakeside development, so.
And Stan, will you be doing the work then? Will you be fundamentally managing that? the
Yeah.
work that needs to be done?
Yeah, that would be the plan, so.
I'm very interested. I'm a
Okay.
bit of a history buff. My concern would be, to preserve that, Blackfoot property and somehow ensure that that is, kept. Typically, it seems like the minute that people know that something's going on.
Yeah.
Something is there that's unique, they go in and collect whatever is around there, or
Well,
Yeah,
I get
so
it.
that
I know
would be-
there were hired men that worked for Grandpa Hutton, and this would go back before I was born,
Mhm.
that dug some graves and so forth and disturbed those sites, so. I haven't been up in the hills to look down on myself. I took my kids when they were younger, and it's just,
Yeah, I'd love to see it
yeah.
personally.
So, Doug Hutton's passed away. Bev, I don't know what Bev's plans are for the property, but there has to be a concept, there has to be an idea, it has to be germinate, and somebody has to be aware of the potential,
Yeah.
and then for others to potentially champion it. So my notion, Angie, is that there would be architectural controls on this that would go beyond anything that is in the land use order and that the town of Hanna has. Because if it's gonna be done, it has to be done right, or quite frankly, I'm not interested. I'll a little bit leave it for the next generation, because,
I don't think
I've
it
got-
falls in our,
well, it's special areas, but
Yeah.
town of Hanna has a water
Yeah.
license,
Yeah.
so there's some overlap there.
Mhm.
And I know that, or I think special areas provides significant funding, and they're, I mean, I can't believe, as I said to the board, special areas today in Youngstown, and Jordan was chairing the meeting. I can't believe that there's 6 parks on the website, and Fox Lake isn't the 7th. And I can't believe that there's as many camping sites as there is, and not a single cabin or tourist lodge facility in special areas,
I think, didn't Harvest Sky, but I think like Harvest Sky's been doing lots of economic development and what we've got in our area and stuff. But isn't Fox Lake on that? I thought there was some.
Oh, in terms of marketing,
Yeah, as far as,
100%, yeah.
yeah, as far as the camping and that sort of thing, but, and I think there was somebody that came years and years ago, wanted to do something and it was shot down.
Yeah.
And, yeah, no,
well, you asked about the meeting, or somebody asked about the meeting. There was a meeting, David Warwick, attended, Gary Hutton attended, Kyle and Tammy attended. Tammy and Kyle were pretty quiet because they felt, I think they're thinking that there was maybe a conflict with working with Mark and so forth. Scott was there, Randy Scott's son was there. Both David and Randy were against any development because of traffic and other concerns, but historically, I think, who was a shoe store? No, Roxy Laughlin wanted to do something at the campground with 2 cottages, and that's how Tammy got those, because they gave up, they wanted town of Hanna's approval to do something. They were gonna maintain the campground and take on certain responsibilities, and they gave up. Randy was going to do, Scott was gonna do something with Bill, who's got the construction company, Reese. A number of units, and was told no, or so there have been efforts over the years.
So I'm gonna have to cut you off because we extended the 15 minutes due to questions and so on and so forth, but we will definitely reach out to you again, Stan, for more information as it comes up. And thank you for your presentation.
Thank you for the opportunity. And
It's interesting to hear some thinking outside the box.
I'd love to see the new signage and some of the improvements and so forth that it's positive, so.
Thank you.
Thanks
Very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Can we get a motion to thank Stan for the presentation? Everybody's gone to work. All in favor?
Fran has a plan.
Carried.
Sorry. So transparent.
Hanna Farmers Market, we'll jump back down to that, 9.04. Conversation, discussion.
Just before
Oh,
you.
sorry.
Before you pass the motion, I want to be clear that I do have an increase in the motion numbers. So I'm always doing the administration side, trying to get some more money,
Squeezing every dollar you
squeezing every
can.
dollar I can out of the users, but
It's $14.
yeah, it's not a ton, but 14 times 17, and we're talking $300-400. I know it's not a lot. It's the principle for me. The goal was always to try and
Get it back to net zero.
get it back to what the approved rates was. I know financially they've struggled, so to be able to get to there has been a bit of a stretch. So you'll see since 2021, it has remained, and I'm talking without the concession, at $232 a day. So I think Peggy would like it at that or lower. So if council wishes to put that fee in, we can change the numbers up above to
Back.
$324 per day plus GST when they use the concession, and they have it for a few years, and it would be $232 a day plus GST without the concession would be the numbers that, or the price that we've charged them since 2021.
Council Olson?
I can do the same things we've done the last couple of years, and suggest we do the same numbers as last year.
Council
Not a
Ward?
surprise, council.
Not surprised you
So,
tried.
I should have asked this earlier, but I'm just looking at all these things. So they have a manager that gets paid. Is that what that manager fee
Yes.
is? So they have somebody full-time that just, or not full-time, but just oversees all the. Okay,
Lines up all the vendors, gets tables set up, those types of things.
so
Does
this
some of
is
the
a
marketing for them.
non-for-profit organization
Yes.
and one member gets paid.
Yes,
I don't know that they could do it without. Could they?
could do what without.
I don't think they could have somebody dedicated to it without some sort of
Remuneration.
monetary benefit.
Melissa does a really good job. in the
She probably
fact
does
she's
more than, yeah.
Phoning and hustling, and she attends other farmers markets and tries to recruit people into ours. In fact, they just brought in a new vendor last fall from Carbon, actually, the jams and jellies and pickle lady. So she's, yeah.
So can we hear that again? What Councillor Olson?
I suggest going back to the same rate of $324.
With 24 a day with the concession and $232 a day without the concession.
Would you like to make that into a motion, Councilor Olson?
Yes.
Okay. Motion that, council authorize administration to enter a rental agreement with the Hanna Farmers Market Committee for the use of the Hanna Curling Rink concession to host a weekly farmers market at a subsidized rate of $324 and with the concession and $232 without concession.
What was it?
Which those numbers are a 20% discount from the normal rate.
All in favor? Carried. Special council meeting. Mr. Neal, would you like to speak to that just briefly?
Yeah, not much to add. As I mentioned earlier, the reason when you have a special council meeting, you have to, basically say what the special council meeting would be for. So it would be for the purpose of awarding the tender for the downtown redevelopment project. Since council already has March 27th as a council info, we would start that special information meeting or special council meeting at 8:30. And then once it's complete, we move into the council information portion. So
Perfect.
if something goes sideways with the tender in terms of, them asking for more time and we need to grant them more time, that would just simply push the tender award to the April 9th council meeting. We just thought we could gain a couple of weeks on the process this way.
Okay. Any more questions? None. Motion of council authorizes a special council meeting to be held on Wednesday, March 29th, 2024 at 8:30 AM in the council chambers of the town of Hanna office for the purpose of awarding the tender for the downtown redevelopment project. Motion, Councilor Kroll.
And it was March 27th. You said 29th.
Did I say
Yeah.
27? Councilor Kroll, all in favor? Carried. Do we have our? Yes,
Yeah, but we'll finish the
We'll finish up.
meeting
Okay,
first
no problem.
before we go into closed session.
council report, roundtable, Councilor Bowden.
Oh, I have nothing. Surprise. Don't tempt me to want to speak. I'm sure I say enough.
Councilor Kroll.
Yeah, I'd like to add, I attended, Vets Memorial Highway Association on Friday up in Castor, and we had a good turnout. We had, and everybody there was gung ho to get going forward. And, we discovered 3 days before this meeting that our secretary treasurer had, basically resigned 3 months ago and didn't tell nobody. Hadn't done a thing. So the chairperson, he phoned a lady that used to be a counselor in Vulcan, and, he asked her if she would take that position, and she was willing to, and she's very good at what she does. And that, so, yeah. So I think we're moving forward. We gave Sonny, the guy that's doing the brochure, gave him a deadline, May 1st, has to be done up, ready to go, or else, you know, I don't know what.
Just turn it off.
Yeah.
Cool.
And
Councilor
then-
Orlick. Oh, sorry.
I attended the Big Country Housing Commission this morning, and they welcomed me very warmly. Yeah, and they're stepping forward, like they're definitely going forward. They got no vacancies. Well, I shouldn't say no vacancies. They got 2 in the manor. 2 vacancies in the manor. And everything else is full.
In quite a waiting list for the villas, if I'm not mistaken.
Really? Years. Yeah.
Really?
Years for the bills.
Got a chance when I get that ready.
Yeah, there's in
You
phase
put
one
your
of
name in now.
That's right.
the duplexes. There's 14 units, nothing available. Phase 2, there's 6 units, nothing available. Manor 1 has 12 units, there's 1 unit vacant in there. Manor two has 30 units and there's 2 units that are vacant there. Parkview Villa, 10 units, not a thing.
Good problem.
Are they looking at potentially expanding?
Pardon me?
Are they looking at potentially expanding more affordable houses?
Uh, They're having a meeting Thursday with Mark Nakota
Okay.
and all this. And it'll go from there. The budget that we have got as a board doesn't allow for anything.
The funds for the capital side would need to come from the province.
Yeah.
Similar to senior foundation.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Fred.
Thanks, Fred. Counselor Roy?
The only thing that I just might bring up, I know most of you probably know, we were to have a PEP meeting here in Hanna last Friday. One of our directors, Lauren Buis, 59 years old, passed away unexpectedly, so we canceled that meeting just to honor Director Buis. So we are just looking at rescheduling that meeting again. April 15th, 16th, or 17th. We're working on a date, given the catering, just so you know, Mr. Neal. Yes, and I've been in touch with Trina as well, so we're just working on the timeline of that. So, and then we can hopefully book the hall as well, maybe for some facility in
definitely.
Hanna.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna host that meeting, so, yeah, and outside of that, that's all.
Counselor Olson?
Yeah, I just want to comment, Lauren Bulis, when Councillor Bowden and I were on PEP, he spoke every time. It was massive to get rail in 40 Mile, like for that whole existence and everything down there. He was a big part of it.
Absolutely, it was awesome.
Yes, that was quite surprising.
It's a huge loss. He was
Absolutely.
heading up the hydrogen project. He was gonna present it on Friday, and unfortunately, we're gonna have to move some stuff around now. So he was a
Very
great,
impactful
yeah,
person.
advocate for
Mm.
Cap and region. Unfortunately.
Yeah, so I guess my stuff, I had a Lynx board meeting, the Pace Aviation Group, NPC meeting. The one of note is golf course meeting coming up. We'll be able to actually look forward to the season starting. Be able to get all the tournaments ironed out. Then once we get that done, I'm gonna reach out to the only I think it was Tanner Coates for things like the curling rink to coordinate with him for his
He does that cornhole.
tournament. So he's already reached out once, and once we get that done, then we're not competing. Because it's one that there's a ton of overlap between participants. Once we get that rolled up, then yeah, we can reach out and get things going. Fill up the summer already.
Counselor Murphy?
Nothing happening yet. Next week I have the Acadia Foundation meeting, and I'm looking forward to seeing the numbers because we're getting up there in Hanna and doing really good. So
Wouldn't take much to go up though.
it was bad.
That was terrible.
But it was again, wrong management style
Yeah.
for what was needed, and the management style changed. And the manager, same manager, is flourishing.
Yeah.
She just needed the right
Direction.
and it's been an incredible change. And we're getting full. It's awesome.
Counselor Thurl?
No, not much, just waiting for 25th to do a community service board meeting.
I attended a meeting in Drumheller that ACCO had put on about unscheduled outages. And it was kind of interesting in the fact, you know, we had the ASOS notification to cut power and stuff like that, so they basically, the biggest thing that I think we got from it was communication. So there is an ACCO app actually that works rather well for outages and reporting outages and so on and so forth. Part of the conversation was the new meters, because we were told they'd be better able to pinpoint an outage and where it was at. So that was part of the discussion. I did mention the streetlights. You know, when we're looking to cut power, and as I'm driving around town, all the streetlights are on. And the comment I got back was initially, it's a safety thing. That's okay, well, that's fine, but if you have no power, the streetlights are out. So it'd be easier to shut them off than to have them go out on a blackout. So we got through that, and then we talked a little bit about, how we could better, or how they could better communicate to, customers as far as an outage. So I mentioned your program, Lori, with, you know, we can reach out to certain parts of the town and so on and so forth, via text, via email. They use Twitter right now. I said, Twitter's great, but I said, I don't follow Twitter. No one else, none of the other users that were there use Twitter. So, the consensus was that Facebook was definitely the most common, social media to use for that type of thing. And we also discussed the importance of communications. So for example, there's an outage in the, and I would use the phrase, new subdivision. So they would send out a notification stating that, it's expected to be out for 3 hours. Root cause, we discussed, they probably wouldn't give us that, but at the 2.5 hour mark, if it was going to be more than 3 hours, they would send out another notification extending the time to whenever they perceive to have it back on. And so it was actually kind of an interesting group. We had a fellow gentleman from East Cooley, we had a lady from Knack Mine, we had a farmer from out in the Delia area, and myself, so we had kind of a cross section of all the different people, I guess, for lack of a better term, and everybody had some neat ideas and stuff like that. So it was good. I don't know if anything will ever come out of it, but it was just an interesting information for more than anything. So other than that, I'm off to Edmonton tomorrow night for Mayor's Caucus. 2 days in Edmonton. So yeah, that's it for me. Questions, concerns? Hearing none. Correspondence? Whole motion to accept, yeah, round table. Motion, Council Olson, all in favor? Carried. Correspondence?
Just a couple things to point out, so. Green Inclusive Community Building Program application, that was for the community center renovation, so it was turned down. Again, as you can see, and it's always been kind of our thoughts with that is we're not meeting the green criteria because we're not.
Numbers aren't that outrageous, like 20%, I mean.
Yeah, but we're not meeting the energy savings from the historical point. Because the focus was on basically washroom and accessibility washroom, improving the kitchen, expanding the hall. So we'll keep our fingers on things. We are getting the kitchen redone in its existing footprint, which is a benefit, but we'll have to keep our eyes for other things come on. Like I said to some people, we could probably qualify it if we change the parameters of the grant and we put in the fact that, for example, we were gonna put solar panels on the roof, or something there that would increase the cost of the project, but it would increase the green component as well. So still it was, the estimate on the project was 1.8 million, which seems a lot in the first place, but so just wanted to point that out. And then the Minister of Municipal Affairs, we did get a small grant for fire services training of 7,600. So that'll go towards the east. So that's not just us, that's the whole training partnership that they'll be able to use that to subsidize some of their training courses. Other than that, most of the stuff is pretty straightforward.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion to council accept correspondence 12.01 to 12.10 for information. Councilor Bowden, all in favor? Carried. We have a closed session.
Yeah.
Yeah. Folks, a motion to go into closed session, Councilor
In
Bowden.
camera.
In camera, sorry.